is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, so true. So true. It does not matter who the host is. That is the true part about what that intro said. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit. How are you? How are things been? How are things happening? Anyways, before we get into it, today is Friday, September the 30th of 2022, day 273rd of the year, and only 92 days left to go. Anyways, we are broadcasting from our Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, so you don't have to worry about that particular portion. And then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place that we do stuff at.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Okay, so let's talk. So with us being broadcasting from Orlando, I guess we should talk about it. Yes, we were not here yesterday. Yes, the reason behind it was because of the storm known as Ian, because by the time that it made it over here, it was Storm Ian. It was Tropical Storm Ian, just in case. And it's been amazing, the whole process. And we weren't here yesterday because I did have some issues at my homestead in regards to what was going on with storm damage. And that's the part, so it couldn't make it in just because I had to do some stuff around the house to make sure that everything was ready to go. But I will tell you, as we hang out here and do all the stuff that we do and we get to hang out and all that kind of fun stuff, I will reference this because I think it's important to do so. We normally have sponsors on this show, as you hear the advertisements that come across from time to time during our shows and do the different things. And I tell you that we normally only vet companies that we actually enjoy. That's not true. We vet companies, but we only do business with the ones that we tend to enjoy. And what I want to reference right away about the whole thing is this. You hear us talk about coastal claim consultants on this station all the time. Yesterday, with the storm still going down and things happening, or shortly thereafter, I already had a rep inside of my home from Coastal Claim Consultants there to help out with some of the damages that had occurred. Not a joke. So that's how important it is in regards of being able to present people that actually are really doing business the right way. So wanted to throw that out there in regards of that was one of the fabulous people that we get to interact with, and they came out day of the event to make sure that everything was up and running and started mitigating process almost immediately. So wanted to reference that and shout out to them immediately. Anyways, with that being said, outside of that, for my little home, everything seems to be fine. Everyone in my family is okay. Thanks to all the people who called, checked in, checked out, all that kind of fun stuff. Just high winds and some water and all that kind of fun stuff. A lot of rain for sure as we are talking. Mostly the area was good, and where we were at, some bad pictures coming out of Universal Studios. Seemed like the whole water. Jurassic Park had some damages in regards to the ride itself, but we can talk about all that stuff and see what goes on here in the very near future. Anyways, let's get into some fun today. We'll talk a little bit about everything that is going on inside of the world of news and entertainment, because that's going to be important. We'll talk about a little safety stuff that's going on as well and kind of go all over the place. But with that being said, when I talk about going all over the place, I want to make sure that we're clear. It is Freeform Friday, so I don't even know what the hell I'm going to talk about. I felt terrible not being able to make it in here yesterday. Because I believe that I should be here to hang out with you. If I tell you that I am going to be hanging with you, I should be here. And I wanted to do everything possible. Just the time frame could not work out in regards of getting here in time. So for that, I apologize. Anyways, with that being said, let's start talking right away about how you get to interact with the show. If you want to hang out with us and interact with what the hell we have going on, simple way to do it, callinradio.com. That will get you moving and grooving inside of there. Callinradio.com, and that will make everything happen right away. The other portion is if you want to watch the visual side of the house, which you can torture yourself with that if you want, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com and click on the portion that says visual radio. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into it right away about the stuff that is trending inside of our world.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, with that being said, let's talk about it. In honor of National Coffee Day, several coffee chains offered free coffee and discounted brews to customers. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene was trending Thursday after news broke that her husband had filed for divorce. North Korea was trending on the Twitterverse, mocked VP Harris, who started the country in an ally in the U.S. We can talk more about that in the swamp if you would like. Some news coming out of Florida. It's also that we saw in some of the trends. I want to make reference to it real quick. 12 people are confirmed dead after Hurricane Ian leaves a path of destruction across Florida. 7 deaths were reported in Charlotte County, in the area where Ian made landfall on Wednesday as a dangerous Category 4 hurricane. 2 people were killed in Sanibel Island. There were hurricanes destroyed a bridge connecting the island to the mainland. 2 deaths were reported in Sarasota County, and 1 person drowned in Volusia County. That was a 72-year-old that drowned in his actually trying to drain his pool. Details about the victims have not been released. Hurricane Ian is now over the Atlantic, expected to make landfall in South Carolina at some point today. So a lot of stuff going on out there as we are talking. With that being said, if you're not familiar with the show, we talk about safety in the news and safety. So we're going to get that started right away, talking about what is going on with everything inside of the world, and then we'll get everything back and rolling and all of that stuff, and then we'll go from there. So a lot of stuff, a short period of time. Let's get it moving right now on what is going on inside of the world of the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Trey Thomas. Hurricane Ian is closing in on the South Carolina coast. The National Hurricane Center says as of 2 a.m. Eastern Time, Ian was about 170 miles southeast of Charleston with 85-mile-an-hour winds. Governor Henry McMaster talked about what Ian could do to South Carolina.
Doesn't make much difference whether this comes in at hurricane strength or below at storm strength or somewhere on the line, because this could be blowing strong winds.
Up to 7 feet of storm surge is possible in parts of South Carolina where normally dry areas along the coast could be flooded by rising waters. Roughly 5,000 National Guard troops from 4 states are activated and in Florida to help with the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Naples Mayor Teresa Heitman says the damage has been widespread.
It's devastating, but I know that we don't have the devastation like our northern friends have.
Guardsmen from Florida, New York, Louisiana, and Tennessee will help with search and rescue operations. A federal judge in Florida is extending the deadline for the review of documents seized from former President Trump's Mar-A-Lago estate. Mark Mayfield fills us in.
On Thursday, the judge ruled that the special master overseeing the review now has until December the 16th, citing delays in hiring a vendor to scan the thousands of documents. The special master, New York Judge Raymond Deary, previously had faced a November the 30th deadline.
NASA may be working with SpaceX to extend the life of the Hubble telescope. The orbiting space telescope has been gradually losing altitude. NASA and SpaceX are studying the feasibility of using a private astronaut mission to push the telescope higher. You're listening to NBC News Radio.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
The families of 3 children who survived the Uvalde school shooting in Texas are suing. Attorney Stephanie Sherman says the lawsuit has been filed in federal court.
Because we have constitutional law violations against the school district and the police force.
The suit also targets the gun maker, alleging that Daniel Defense deliberately markets military-grade assault rifles to untrained civilians and young adult males. The FDA is approving a controversial new drug designed to slow the progression of ALS. Brian Shook reports.
The decision was based on a single clinical trial of 137 ALS patients, which found those who took the drug lived about 10 months longer than those who didn't receive it. The pill also appears to delay hospitalizations. The FDA's approval is sparking some disagreement among scientists, as some argue the clinical trial data doesn't show clear evidence that the drug slows down the spread of the disease.
Google is adding new features to its search engine that'll give users a sense of what's happening in a city or neighborhood. Users will be able to zoom into a neighborhood and perhaps a restaurant to get a feel for what it might be like. Visual stories and short videos from people who visited a city will pop up offering tips about things to do. Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett is being cited for a single vehicle accident. A report from the Ohio State Highway Patrol says Garrett was ticketed for failure to control his vehicle and for traveling at an unsafe speed. Garrett apparently swerved to avoid hitting an animal on a slick street, causing his car to leave the road and roll multiple times. The report says Garrett was driving 65 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. You're listening to NBC News Radio.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
So, do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now, that live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com/one. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
Pop quiz, hotshot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar? Is it air conditioning? Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 18 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this marvelous Friday. Yes, marvelous Friday. It doesn't really rhyme for no rhyme or reason as we are talking, that is for sure, but we will get into some stuff that is going on. Anyways, Hurricane Ian is expected to barrel into South Carolina today after passing over Florida and gaining more power in the Atlantic. While it is expected to bring high winds and storm surges, it is not likely to be powerful as it was over Florida. So far, officials in Florida expected to death toll in the hundreds. Millions remain without power on Thursday evening. So there you go, as we are talking. So the death count that I was giving you earlier, I just want to reference that. That is the official release one as we are talking. I don't want it to come across as, did you just say something else earlier? Because I did, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same path as we are talking. Anyways, Mark Zuckerberg says tough times are ahead for Facebook parent company Meta. He said that the company-wide internal call Thursday that the significant restructuring that lies ahead and hiring freeze is going into effect. Meta stock is down 60% year to date. They lost 26% of its value in a single day in February following a disappointing fourth quarter of 2021 revenue number and has slid further since then. Zuckerberg's net worth is more than $30 billion tumble too. So there you go. So we'll see some changes in Meta. I wonder what those changes will be, especially with them relying heavily with we'll talk about virtual reality. And there's been some talk, especially if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, or excuse me, the Joe Rogan Experience. You have heard that there will be some changes with some augmented reality binoculars, or well, not binoculars because they're not binoculars, but with the headset. So we'll see what happens there. Anyways, Klingon, yeah. When the World Cup kicks off on Qatar next month, all visitors to watch the matches in person will be required to show negative COVID tests. The Arab country still requires visitors to download the government app under the guise of contact tracing, but will follow all users' movement. So, at least vaccinations won't be required. Okay, no, I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying there. There's a lot of stuff that is going on. NASA's Juno probe flyby past Jupiter, Moon, and Europa on Thursday, coming within 219 miles of the satellite's surface. The Europa is believed to have liquid water underneath the frozen surface, raising many questions about the possibility of life there. NASA's team was hopeful, that photos taken during the flyby would show water plums bursting through the surface, but the 4 images sent back yield no such luck. Juno has been zigging by at 15 miles a second, after all. A mission specifically to study Europa will launch in 2024 and arrive there in 2030. Hold on. It's going to take 6 years. It's going to take 6 years to get there. That's not the kind of ride that I'm looking for. I don't want anything that takes 6 years to get there. I mean, what the hell are they thinking? Crazy stuff there, for sure.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, a discount retail chain called Ollie has unveiled the world's largest bobblehead. The mascot applied for name Ollie looks oddly like Albert Einstein for the record. It's 16 feet. 16 foot. It's 6.73 foot tall bobblehead. It was built and displayed outside the main store in Pennsylvania. The unveiling coincides with the chain's 40th anniversary. The bobblehead breaks the last record by a little more than a foot. That was in Florida back in 2016 at a 15 feet, 4.75 inches. And I guess what I was supposed to say was 16 foot, 6.73 foot tall bobblehead because they didn't break down the inches there, but that's what happens. So I don't know if you've ever been to an Ollie's. It's an interesting place because they have a little bit of everything because they have them here in Florida. But you have to be an adventure seeker to go to this place. And you look at him and you go, adventure seeker to go to a store? Yeah, because you're going to have to dig and dig and dig just to be able to find the shit that you're looking for because they have so much shit inside of that store. And it's not really well organized. Not picking on Ollie's, great store, great discounts, but you have to dig some in regards to finding some things that are inside of there. That is for sure. Anyways, with that being said, let's start moving and grooving and start talking a little bit to John Sma and see what the hell is going on with the market beat.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Friday, September 30th, 2022. Bearish momentum is building on Wall Street. Wednesday's market rebound was nothing more than a blip on the radar, possibly driven by short covering, as traders and investors continue to move to cash. The move comes just a day before a fresh read of the PCE price index and puts the S&P 500 at a new 22-month low. Assuming the PCE index comes out as expected, the sell-off could easily gain momentum and take the market down to the 3,500 level or lower. The PCE index is expected to come in at 0.5% month over month and 4.7% year over year, which are both an acceleration from the previous month and a new high for the year over year comparison. The takeaway is the market is expecting the worst and the data could be hotter than predicted. Regardless, the data is in support of a hawkish FOMC, so investors should be prepared for at least another 50 basis point interest rate hike at the next meeting, if not another 75 basis point hike. You can get the inside track at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for that information about what the hell is going on inside of the world. The Dow lost about 458 points on Thursday, closing at 29,225. The S&P shed about 78 points to close at 3,640, and the Nasdaq lost about 314 points to close at 10,737. West Texas Intermediate was trending at $81 on Thursday, as Brent crude closed at $87. The national average of a price of a gallon of gas was up on Thursday again to $3.78. Bitcoin added about $87 in trading to 19,500. There was 136 flights that were delayed within, into, and out of the United States Thursday, and 2,050 cancellations, nearly 1/3, which were at the Orlando and Tampa airports. Now, I'll tell you, because I don't live that far from the airport here, the airport closed like 2 days ago at 10:30 in the morning. I want to say it closed on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. So there has been no interaction going on there since then. And they are reopening today, which is Friday, as you know, let's see, at noon Eastern time to get everything moving and grooving from what I have read from their official Twitter post. So flights will start taking off starting at noon. They're asking people not to show up before 10 a.m. if you are in the area. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's talk real quick. Don't know if you're going to be in lockdown over the weekend. So if you are, you got some info for you. Let's talk a little quickly on what movies will be released that you can watch on the different platforms that are out there. New to Amazon Prime will be Ambulance and My Best Friend. New to Disney Plus is Hocus Pocus 2 and Under Wraps 2. At Netflix will have Rainbow and What We Leave Behind. Those are the ones that are showing that are being released. Now, listen, earlier this week, and that was my plan at some point, they released the new Blonde movie on Netflix, which is, I believe it's one of the first films that they have actually streamed that was NC-17 with Ana de Armas. Now, I'll tell you, my original plan at some point this week for research purposes was to take a viewing of that, but definitely did not have the opportunity to do so. But with that being said, I did not realize that movie is 2 hours and 47 minutes. 2 hours and 47 minutes. I mean, that is a watch-a-thon in regards of getting everything moving and grooving. So that's a lot of movie to watch in a... in the limited time construct that I have. So anyways, let's talk a little bit more about some things that are going on inside of the world. We're going to talk a little bit about the weather stuff because it is going on now. Take a listen to this. The United Cajun Navy is joining rescue and relief efforts after Hurricane Ian pounded misery across Florida. Listen to what Trey Thomas had to say.
Jay Carter is an incident commander.
We have responders and volunteers from all over the country that come together to just help our neighbors when they're in a terrible situation.
Team members and volunteers with the nonprofit based in Louisiana are working primarily in the Fort Myers area on the Gulf Coast. The United Cajun Navy completed about 24 extractions by noon Thursday using airboats, high water vehicles, and shallow drive boats. I'm Trey Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Trey Thomas, for the info and letting us know on what is going on right there. The FEMA administration heads to Florida to survey the catastrophic damages left behind by Hurricane Ian. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest on the federal response.
Officials are assessing the aftermath, estimating 250,000 Floridians were displaced. At least a dozen have died. That number only expected to rise in the coming days.
President Biden is pledging full federal support for Florida after approving a major disaster declaration, which includes funding for temporary housing and home repairs. He is also vowing to work closely with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on what is expected to be a long road to recovery. Ian was downgraded to a tropical storm before gaining strength and becoming a hurricane again, on track to make the second U.S. landfall today in South Carolina, along with Georgia and North Carolina, for bracing for fierce impacts. President Biden pledges full support for Florida during the visit of the FEMA headquarters.
This could be the deadliest hurricane in Florida's history. However long it takes, we're going to be there.
Listen to North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper has a warning for his state.
For North Carolinians, I want to be clear. This storm can still be dangerous and even deadly.
One resident in Fort Myers says that he lost everything when Hurricane Ian hit southwest coast of Florida.
I literally watched my house disappear with everything in it. Right before my eyes.
So a lot of devastation going on in that area, which is just terrible to hear what is going on. As we spoke about a few moments ago, there are signs of life returning to normal in Central Florida. Trey Thomas has some more info.
Orlando International Airport will reopen today with flights resuming this afternoon. Disney will reopen the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Disney Springs this morning. And Universal Orlando will begin a phased reopening today, starting with hotel guests. Legoland remains closed. I'm Trey Thomas.
Yeah, there's still a lot of devastation in the area of what is going on, so we will see a lot more as we are talking. So just keep that in mind. If you were heading towards Florida, you might want to check to make sure that everything is still okay to be able to head that direction. Anyways, Detroit police are investigating the carjacking of an Amazon delivery driver on Wednesday night on the city's west side. The driver was delivering to the home of a Detroit Police Corporal Michael Fountain when a man in a ski mask pulled a gun and took her truck.
She had 19 more packages left to deliver. And I was thinking, it's dark. She's a 90-pound woman, out here delivering these packages at night. I understand people want quick service, but...
She was seen pounding on Fountain's door on the Ring camera, saying someone has stolen her van at gunpoint. The van was found near a Schoolcraft in Southfield Freeway, but he got away with several boxes. Detroit Police Corporal Michael Fountain says the Amazon driver was pounding at his door after being carjacked.
We could hear the young lady knocking on the door, saying that, please help me. I just got robbed.
Terrible to hear that the lady got robbed, but geez, how much compression did they put on that dude's voice in regards of, for the newscast there? Sorry about that, but that's how it came across. With that being said, 32 minutes past the top of the hour, got one more for you. Take a listen to this. South Carolina is under the state of emergency as Hurricane Ian approaches. Mark Woolsey reports.
Governor Henry McMaster says the declaration paves the way for both people and institutions to better prepare for the storm.
The National Guard is activated to begin pre-positioning assets and troops. The order allows agencies to suspend any regulations that may hinder operations during the state of emergency.
McMaster says the state emergency operations plan has also been put into effect to handle the nuts and bolts of getting ready. McMaster says he's not ordering further actions such as evacuations or school closings, at least right now. I'm Mark Woolsey.
Hold on. So you're not doing school closings yet, but it is in the cards? That's kind of a weird thing to have in the cards but not doing anything with. Anyways, with that being said, we would normally do a main story, but not today.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. US President Joe Biden's warned there's likely to be substantial loss of life following Hurricane Ian's path through Florida. At least 10 people are known to have died already. The Category 4 storm caused severe flooding, high winds and storm surges. Biden's declared it a major disaster and approved federal funds.
This could be the deadliest hurricane in Florida's history. The numbers are still unclear, but we're hearing early reports of what may be substantial loss of life. We're continuing to see deadly rainfall, catastrophic storm surges, roads and homes flooded. We're seeing millions of people without power and thousands hunkered down in schools and community centers. They're wondering what's going to be left. What's going to be left when they get to go home, quote unquote home, or even if they have a home to go to.
Moscow is holding events to mark the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions after what Kiev and its allies call sham referendums. At least 19 people have died in an explosion at an education centre in Kabul. Officials say students were taking a practice university exam when the blast took place. COVID isolation rules will be scrapped within a fortnight in Australia. Australia's peak medical body believes the move will have dangerous consequences. Sean Bindley reports.
Mandatory COVID isolation in Australia will end on the 14th of October, except for people who work in high-risk settings. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says as COVID cases come down and most of the population is vaccinated, the scheme is no longer viable.
While people have health concerns, it's not sustainable to have in place a system whereby the government steps in permanently.
But Professor Steve Robson from the Australian Medical Association says given the virus is on the increase overseas, the move to scrap COVID quarantine is a mistake. In Brisbane, I'm Sean Bindley.
UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is taking part in talks on Friday with the independent fiscal watchdog after criticism of her government's tax plans. The Office for Budget Responsibility has confirmed it could have produced a draft economic forecast in time for the so-called mini-budget last week, but the Chancellor didn't ask for one. That decision has been blamed in part for turmoil on financial markets. Former Conservative Minister Ed Vaizey says Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng must make his next update to plans much earlier than the current date of November the 23rd.
The Chancellor now has to come out and set out his medium-term strategy
now. He cannot wait until November the 23rd. And that is the mood among my former colleagues in the House of Commons. They want some certainty and they want to see somebody gripping this crisis. And words do matter and leadership does matter.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. At the end of another unprecedented week of unrest in Iran, a look at the situation through the eyes of a prominent Western campaigner seeking change in his family's home country.
This has been going on for years, and I think the death of Mahsa Amini has been a real powder keg moment.
Omid Jalili is a British actor and comedian born to Iranian parents, and he's been outspoken welcoming the protests that have roiled Iran since the morality police arrested and then killed 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, detained for failing to wear her hijab correctly.
They're not being put off. They're still in the streets in the thousands. Something huge is changing. Like when we had like the George Floyd moment, of course, a policeman went to prison for the first time in 150 years. Here it seems to be sparking total societal change. The men are standing with the women. They're standing against the morality police who can just go up to people and do whatever they want, and people are too scared. So now they are now shouting. They're literally facing the captors, and they're quoting a poetess from 1852 who was killed called Tahira. When she was killed, and her last words were, "You can kill me, but you won't stop the emancipation of women." And women in 2022 are quoting that back.
President Raisi ended the week calling the unrest unacceptable, but it seems certain that more of it lies ahead. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap the top stories, US President Joe Biden's warned there's likely to be substantial loss of life after Hurricane Ian's path through Florida. At least 19 people have died in an explosion at an education centre in Kabul. COVID isolation rules will be scrapped within a fortnight in Australia, and Moscow's holding events to mark the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions after what Kiev and its allies call sham referendums. That's the latest feature story news. Ollie Barrett reporting.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
It's this show, and they just make fun of a whole bunch of people. It's just too funny. It's too stupid.
Rated R Safety Show.
Have you ever wanted to start live streaming and were not sure how to do it? You can start live streaming up to 40 social media platforms all at one time for as little as nada. It's going to cost you your time. That is what it's going to cost. You can pre-record, you can live stream, you can do a multitude of things. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com, ONE.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Hey, are you tired of hanging around and talking about safety in a boring kind of format? Well, I got something for you. If you haven't hung out with us yet at safetyfm.com, I'm going to encourage you to do so. Yeah, if you come out to Safety FM, you can come hang out with all kinds of safety professionals. Some are safety professionals, some are just people that are talking about safety. But we want to do it in a format that makes it fun and entertaining. If you're kind of trying to figure out what the FM portion is, well, we're a radio station and also a podcast network. You can come out, hang out, and listen to my show, The Jay Allen Show. You can listen to Todd Conklin with the pre-accident investigation, Blaine J. Hoffman with the Safety Pro, the Hop Nerd, Sam Goodman, just to name a few on what can be found on the station. Different things for different people, trying to bring safety in an entertaining form. SafetyFM.com. Go to the website, download the app, and carry it with you all day long. SafetyFM.com. We'll be waiting for you.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
In order to save the planet from cow farts, why doesn't someone just invent really large Gas X pills?
God, what's that awful stench? Radio.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. This is the Rated R Safety Show. It is currently 43 minutes past the top of the hour. Yeah, this is Calamity by MHC. Songs readily available on Spotify and iTunes. You can take a little gander, little action, little listen. Right there. If you want to do that, hang out with us over there. Songs available on iTunes and Spotify. Thanks to AMHC for allowing us to play this here. Calamity. You know, and it has that techno touch to me. So we, of course, have to go longer because that's what happens. Oh, let's see the drop. Let's see the drop. Okay, thanks. Let's get back into the move and the groove of the things that we are talking about, because it's always important to do so. So let me tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime. There is no doubt about it when I mention this. There is no doubt about it that when I talk about this, that I feel like I'm telling you something that is not, correct, because I think that this is so important. And that's about my friends at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help you prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention, and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and the best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org. Or you can call 988 or text the word TALK to 988, and that will get everything moving and grooving for you. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people go, well, I'm not sure how we should do this and talk about it because this is not the norm. You know what becomes the norm? When you decide to make things the norm. It is okay not to be okay. Life is not, well, how can I put this? Life is what you make of it. You are not a burden to anyone. And let's make this conversation the norm. People do care about you. You might feel like at times that's not the case, but that is not the truth. I want you to think about that as we are talking. So 988lifeline.org. You can text the word talk to 988, or you can call 988, and they are there to assist you. Let's get into some things that are going on inside of this world as we are hanging and banging and doing all the interesting stuff that we get to do on this lovely Friday as we are hanging out. So let's talk about some things that are going on, some new movies coming out today, if you so care to take a look at it. Smile is a horror movie after witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient. Dr. Rose Cotta starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. She must confront her troubling past in order to escape her horrifying new reality. So there you go. Another movie coming out is called Bros. Two men with a commitment problems attempt a relationship. So there you go. There you go. That's the stuff that's going on. Let's get into some more news. People would pay 108% more of the listed cost of any item that they're shopping for if they were at least 20 years to last at least 20 years, according to a new survey. There are 5 respondents that said that more than inclined to spend more money at quality items of something that was cheaper both in pricing and quality. Examples of things that they agree that are also worth paying more for, provided that they last longer than the average, including cars, 34%, kitchen appliances, 34%, cookware, 30%, TVs, 28%, and phones, 26%. And yeah, all those last so long that they could go out of style, so that's something to think about. Anyways, a quarter of the people would rather shave their head than contact customer support. And that's not the only extreme that some are willing to go to. A survey of 2,000 Americans also found that instead of going through the tedious process of contacting a customer service agent and pleading their case and trying to come up with some sort of resolution, respondents would rather do their taxes 30% of the time, go to the dentist 28% of the time, go to the DMV 25% of the time, and 22% said that they would even choose a night in jail than dealing with a customer service report. And the joke's on us. Those large companies with customer support lines wouldn't have it any other way. So that's the reason why you must have to go through some of the torture.
Duh.
So some things to think about as we are talking. Let's get into some more things because it is 48 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's talk a little bit about some more news stories of some things that are going on out there in the world. I think it is time for us to do we want to give a weather report, or do we care at this particular moment in regards to that? I mean, I never know, because I always kind of feel like we're a little off with some of this thing. Anyways, take a listen to this. Let's go into another story. A Denver police officer is recovering after being shot in the neck, while a person of interest is dead after being in a standoff in Broomfield. Denver Police and Interim Chief Ron Thomas says that the officer is going to be okay, but never wants to hear of one of his own hurt in the line of duty.
It's always difficult to get these phone calls. Obviously very concerned about our force, very concerned about law enforcement throughout the metro area.
A Denver fugitive unit located a man wanted on a warrant who was also a person of interest in a homicide in the area of Sheridan and Midway Boulevard, according to Broomfield Police Department. The suspect crashed into a car and then tried to jack another one. As he was unsuccessful, he took off and shot at a Denver officer who fired back and killed the suspect. The hurt officer works a DPD fugitive unit and is a 20-year veteran of the force. Is at least the 5th time an officer on the front lines has been shot in the line of duty this year. So that's some stuff to talk about as we are moving and grooving as we are going through this. Let's talk about this coming out of Colorado as well. A Colorado Springs man is in custody for allegedly violating an Espionage Act, which could carry a sentence of up to life in prison with the death penalty. A Colorado judge explains why the punishment is so severe.
The idea is to prevent individuals from
cooperating from giving documents that could interfere with United States security to foreign powers.
The person accused of sending excerpts of 3 classified documents to an undercover FBI agent, including 2 labeled top secret. Officials say that the accused, or the potentially accused at this point, worked on the National Security Agency for less than a month over the summer and sent documents between August and September to someone he thought was who worked for a foreign government. So hold on. The NSA had somebody who worked for them for less than a month and was already giving away these kind of documents. I mean, like, what kind of vetting process is this? I mean, I know this is probably not shit that I should talk about, but this is some stuff to think about. I mean, think about it for a moment. How does this even work? It's kind of crazy when you give it some thoughts, for sure.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Anyways, with that being said, it is time to bring some John Small inside of here and let him tell us about what the hell is going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Steve. Jeff Bezos said, "Gifts are easy. They're given after all. Choices can be hard. You can seduce yourself with your gifts if you're not careful. And if you do, it'll probably be to the detriment of your choices." I like that. Mr. Bezos happens to be one of the wealthiest people on planet Earth. He's usually in the top spot. Now, I'm not sure if that's where he is right now, mainly because that's not really important to me. I've never even wanted to be a billionaire, and I am succeeding in that. I do, however, like the quote from this billionaire. Don't focus so much on the gift that you forget why you're giving the gift in the first place. That matters far more in the long run. This is today's Motivation Minute. It's courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlasaMorgan.com. Your liver is intricately involved in metabolism of every single calorie. When we consume unhealthy foods and carbs, the inflammation causes the liver to store fat instead of metabolizing it. This can contribute to something called clogged or fatty liver when it's unable to metabolize additional foods and continues to accumulate fat. One food that can help your liver is garlic. What makes it so unique is the presence of sulfur, which aids in metabolizing some of the components that otherwise have a hard time getting processed. Additionally, it's extremely high in vitamin B6, which reduces the levels of homocysteines and therefore aids inflammation. Garlic is both a good treatment and a great preventative, so add it to your food whenever possible, from sautés to garlic butter to salads and soups. For additional information, check out alasamorgan.com.
Hello, I'm Richard Exley with your 1-minute devotion. The third level of giving is revelation giving. This is how the Macedonian churches gave. Paul says they gave as much as they were able and even beyond their ability. Sometimes the Lord impresses you to give an amount that is simply beyond your ability, and in faith you determine to do so, although you can't imagine how. God honors your obedience and enables you to give what heretofore appeared to be impossible. That's revelation giving. 2 Corinthians 8 says, entirely on their own, they urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this service to the Lord's people. Lord Jesus, give us a faith to practice revelation giving. In your holy name we pray. Amen. If these devotions are a blessing and an encouragement to you, you can subscribe at oneminutedevotion.com.
Show, and they just make fun of a whole bunch of people. It's just too funny. It's too stupid.
Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 55 minutes past the top of the hour. At the top of the hour, I will be going over just to radiobig.fm. That's the website, just in case. or you can take a listen to us over there on the iHeartRadio app if you're not doing so already. Now, I will talk about entertainment. We will play some music and do all that kind of fun stuff, so you can come and hang out with me if you're so inclined to do so. That'll be occurring at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and finish up here, talk about some things that are going on inside of the world, because you might want to know about some of those things, because they could be important to you. Let's take a look real quick at some of the things that happened back on this date. So taking a look around, if I take a look at 2020, California becomes the first state to pass a law allowing for reparation of black residents and descendants of slaves. A 9-member task force is created to come up with a proposal of how to make amends for oppression of black people. The law does not limit reparation for those only who are descendants of slaves, but Governor Gavin Newsom required the task force to give those individuals special consideration. So there you go. Anyways, let's talk about some birthdays that are going on real quick. Ezra Miller turns 30 today. Let's see. T-Pain, 38. Korean Culkin turns 40. Christopher Jackson, 47. Tony Hale, 52. Fran Drescher, 65. Yeah, if you've heard her voice, you're not going to forget that one, that's for sure. What else? Let's talk about some days of the year that you can celebrate. It's International Podcast Day, National Mud Pack Day, National Chewing Gum Day, National Love People Day, and International Translation Day. So I guess that's a lot of stuff if you are taking a look around at what is going on there. That is for sure. Anyways, if I can give you a random joke for today, I have one of those. Preschool rules and bar rules are the same. If you pee your pants, you go home. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What is the best or worst purchase you've ever made? If you need something for the water cooler, try this one. Question. The average worker says this phrase approximately 3 times per week. What is it? I need a vacation. That's the common term to use. Anyways, thanks for coming out today and hanging out and taking a listen to what the hell we have going on. Once again, thanks to all the people that reached out yesterday to see what the hell was going on. We are okay on this side, at least where we're located here at the studio. So thank you very much for reaching out. Thank you for always being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener, because without you, we couldn't do what we do around here. That is for sure. So keep that in mind as we are hanging. Like I said, I will be going over to Radio Big if you want to come and hang out. If not, stay tuned here on the Safety FM website and its Safety FM app or safetyfm.com, as Sheldon Primus will be coming in next and taking over and doing his stuff with his Safety Consultant podcast, as he calls it. So there you go. Anyways, if I could leave you with a deep thought for today, I would leave you with this one. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Think about that. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.